Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with MagnaGrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit magnagrip.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of a Mayday Monday. This is the August 2023 Mayday Monday. And before we get started, I just want to kind of review some of those, our line of duty deaths that we've had since the last time we got together. It was a rough time here in the fire service since the last time we got together. Here was a list of what we've had since the last time. We had Wayne Bears Brooks Jr. and Augusto Acabao. They were both out of Newark, New Jersey, and they died while fighting a cargo ship fire. There were also 5 other firefighters injured in that fire. Again, a lot of media on that. I'm sure you guys can get out and Google that and see what happened in Newark, New Jersey. Frederick County, Virginia, across the river from the guys we're going to be talking to tonight, had actually, no, that's Loudon that's across the river, isn't it? But Frederick County, Virginia, they lost a recruit firefighter. It was his second day in the recruit school, and he had a medical emergency, ENT Strickler. James Spot Cleary Jr. of the Bramwell, West Virginia. He died in an ATV accident. Jordan Melton, this was a senseless, crazy tragedy in Birmingham, Alabama, where 2 firefighters were hanging out by the apparatus bay doors in the front of the firehouse. And some crazy guy came by and shot both of them. And unfortunately, Jordan Melton did not survive. Jeffrey Norman, Memphis, Tennessee, died fighting a house fire that was an arson fire. And I believe they've caught the suspect in that fire. And then Evan Brown of the Honey Grove, Texas Volunteer Fire Department was killed in a traffic crash. So far in this year, there's been 46 firefighters who have died in the line of duty, 46 firefighter fatalities. If you would, please take some time and reflect on these members, remember their families, remember their fire departments and all that they're going through in this time. So we'll get into tonight's subject. Tonight, a review last month. Last month, we remember we talked about Nate Flynn out of Howard County, Maryland, and we really wanted to emphasize, are you radio ready? So hopefully you guys had some time over this last month to practice some of your radio techniques and radio, how you wear the radio, if you can handle it and work it with gloves on and that kind of stuff. Some of the things that we see out there that can be trouble is, are you wearing it right? And that can be really kind of underneath your turnout gear is probably the best place that we've found to wear it if you can. It helps protect it, keeps it there. Also, is it turned on, right? I know that we've all, especially you guys that are riding fire trucks today, you know that, yes, we've gone away from like static and feedback, but now we have this bonking, this crazy bonking with our new radios. And sometimes, right, it drives people crazy. They don't even turn the radio on. So you're setting yourself up. You could be setting yourself up for a bad situation if you don't turn it on. And is it on the right channel? Again, I'll go back to a fire. I know a close call we had in my previous fire department where the first, right, some of the guys who were really into the job, they would set their portable radios onto the fire TAC channel where they knew the incident was going to be if it was a fire incident. Well, that night when he got up out of bed, there was already another incident going on somewhere else in the city. So he was on the second TAC channel. He was assigned to that, but he didn't know that. So when he was operating, he was on the wrong channel because he didn't get the update that, hey, we're on 07 instead of 03. So just remember, these are some things that can make you be radio ready. And look at last month's podcast where we talked to Chief Ridgely from Howard County, Maryland. The crazy thing about that is tonight we are going to an incident that was some 30 miles away, northwest, if you will, of Howard County into Frederick County, Maryland, and an eerily similar incident that took the life of Josh Laird, and we want to remember this, talk about this incident, learn about it, and with us tonight, is several members, a gang here from the Frederick County, Maryland Fire Department. With us, we have technician Steve Ryon, firefighter Vinny Parish, Lieutenant Aaron Waltz, and Fire Chief Tom Coe. Really am blessed to have all of you guys with us tonight, giving me some of your Thursday night. Now, has it been a long day? Were you guys all involved in that thing that this morning with the ATF rollout?
It was a great day of training with the ATF and Howard County Fire, remembering both Nate and Josh, and talking about fire dynamics and the dangers of CSST as it relates to both of those incidents. So good day of training today, wrapped up around 1 o'clock. But yeah, Steve, Vinny, and I, and Aaron were all glad to participate in that.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, that's Tom Coe. Chief, go ahead and just give us a little about who you are and why we're here tonight.
Well, thanks, Tony. So my name's Tom Coe. I'm the fire chief in Frederick County, Maryland. Have been the chief for the last 4 years. I actually joined Frederick County in July of 2000 in recruit class 4. It was actually the recruit class that Josh was a member of. So we got hired at the same time. Both kind of came up through the ranks, and just really glad that we're able to share Josh's story tonight. And hopefully folks can take some lessons learned from our experience back to their department. So thanks for having us.
Hi, my name's Steve Ryon. I'm also in the recruit class 4 with Josh and Tom. And I was Josh's technician probably for about the last 5-6 years. And 14 years I was assigned with him in some way or another.
Is that you were his driver?
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys have promoted technicians up there?
Yes.
And you've been with Josh pretty much his whole career there in Frederick County?
Yeah, we were assigned to another station together. It was just the two of us, and he either was on C shift at 25 or I was on A shift at 25 to begin with.
All right, great. Thank you. Vinny.
So yeah, I'm Vinny Parish. I've worked with Steve and Josh for a couple years, and been really good friends ever since. We spent a couple years in Green Valley, and then we all kind of got transferred out, but Steve. But still kept pretty close contact, hung out all the time, known to play some golf and got to a few bars. So just kind of a family that stuck together after we all got separated. So
they had to break up the crew there.
Yeah, well, we were having too much fun, I guess,
Great. Lieutenant Waltz.
Yeah, I'm Aaron Waltz. Out of recruit school, I was assigned to Station 25. I never worked directly under Josh, but he also was assigned down there. And so via overtime or swaps, I worked on shift with him, seen him in the mornings, got to know him through that, having coffee at the table and whatnot. So just interacted with him whenever we could.
Okay, so I got Steve. You were with Ryan. I'm sorry, you were with Josh at 25. Vinny, where do you work? Where did you work? Where are you working now?
I'm working at Braddock Heights Station 12, but was assigned with Steve and Josh at Station 25 together.
And Aaron, where are you working in the county?
Currently, I'm assigned to the training center.
Gotcha. You know, they always say is that those who can do and those who can't teach, right? I mean, they told that to me too. So I was told that I was full duty coward because we went to training, and I that really hurt. But no, training's awesome and it's an important spot. All right, great. So thank you guys again for coming out tonight. Let's talk a little bit about Josh. Here's what I know about Josh. Josh was a young kid, right? Young kid in the fire department. Joined it when he was 16 years old. Mont Alto FD up in Pennsylvania. We called those guys up homers. I don't know, what do you guys call the Pennsylvania guys? But
Pretty much the same.
Yeah. And I guess at the time when he got it, he held the title of Pennsylvania's youngest paramedic. That's pretty cool, right? I mean, again, I remember going up and I remember I tell people all the time that I took my EMT class and I got a 70 on the test, only because, like, as I was scribbling in one of the bubbles, the instructor came by and he shook his head, and I bubbled in the C instead of the D and got a 70. So I know how tough that was as a young kid being in high school. I can't imagine being a paramedic at that age, but that's good stuff. Appointed to Frederick County in July 2000. You said it was Recruit School 4?
Yep. It was really the start to the growth of Frederick County and its fire service.
And a captain. He was at the time of his death, he was a captain and posthumously promoted to battalion fire chief. And then I do know that he was married to Sarah and had a couple of great daughters, right? Erin and Madeline.
Yeah.
Here's some pictures of Josh in good times there. But again, from what I understand, he had a great work ethic and could be depended on to get stuff done.
Those characters that he's hanging out with in that bottom left picture are really shady.
We better break them up. Yeah. So tell me a good Josh story. Something that we can always bleep out the words if they had to say something. But tell me a good story about his firehouse antics.
Well, at the
firehouse.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, all right. Say around the firehouse, he was pretty much his lunch. You do what you wanted to do, but kept you under control by keeping an eye on you. And as long as you showed good effort and good faith, that you can pretty much do it as you needed to. But he still stayed stayed ahead of you and let you be controlled. Manage you as the way it needed to be.
I can't imagine reading that list of accomplishments. Paramedic, captain. He's not going to let you load off either, right? You're going to be doing something, training or investing in your future or in your betterment as a firefighter there on the job.
Yeah, he actually pushed me to take a lot more classes than I was willing to personally take. So, and he was also going through schooling himself to get his degree.
Yeah, that's a tough one, especially with a couple of kids at home and then working every day. That could be a tough venture to accomplish. But go ahead, Chief.
So, I mean, I think the pictures really say it all. Josh was a lot of things to us in the fire department, but bigger than the fire department, he was a tremendous figure in his family. So completely engaged in his family life, loved to travel with them, absolutely adored his daughters, and was really engaged in the community as a whole. So he was a member of the local school board in his township up in Pennsylvania, was a key figure in a local, they called it Pippin Fest, a local festival, and getting that coordinated. Loved helping with his daughter's athletic and after school events. But at the firehouse, Josh was a jokester and really loved to have a great time as long as the Burger King wasn't around. But Vinny, you got a good story about Josh?
Work related. The funny thing, that picture down the left, we were doing a walkthrough of like a local amusement park, and he talked them into, after we were done, letting us play some laser tag. So all those faces smiling, everything's probably getting out of playing some laser tag all together after a pretty good walkthrough. So, and that he would bring like Halloween masks and try to scare you. Like he definitely, like Coe said, definitely a big time prankster, and just an overall good time. It felt like you were coming to work and hanging out with your friends. So like it's probably one of the best work environments I probably have had since I've been employed here. So.
Yeah, and a captain, so that means he was probably a rising star in the Frederick County Fire Department, right?
Yeah, without a doubt, he was pivotal in our, just prior to his loss. He was active in our COVID incident management team, but really just loved helping people and doing the right thing at his fire station. So incredibly involved, incredibly engaged, and he was absolutely not to the peak of his career yet. He was going to continue to move on through the ranks as time would allow.
Yeah, that seems to be a resounding sentiment when I've been doing these things. Right, last month we talked to Nate Flynn, and we know he was on that trajectory as well, and so many guys, it seems like we learn, that are taken too soon from us, and and we miss out on what their contributions could be, but in his death, there's also going to be other contributions that are going to be made, and we won't allow him to not make a contribution. So, all right, good stuff. Thank you for those. Thank you for that information and stories about Josh. Let's talk about Frederick County, Maryland, and where it is. Where is Frederick County, Maryland? Again, you got the map there. You can see kind of sandwiched between Pennsylvania and Virginia there. So you're about an hour from DC?
Yeah, we're
Baltimore?
an hour from DC, an hour from Baltimore. The real interesting thing about Frederick is we touch 3 different states. We have a lot of mutual aid activity from all of the different jurisdictions that we touch. But Frederick County has historically been an agricultural community, and over the last really 30 years has seen tremendous growth around the urban area of Frederick City and the southern portion of the county. Many in the fire service are probably familiar with Frederick County and don't even realize it, as we're the home to the National Fire Academy. So a lot of folks watching probably don't even know it, but they've already been in Frederick County.
Yeah, that's a good point. And again, 667 square miles, so not a small county, very big. And with that, 271,000 people in the last census. I like to highlight the 410 people per square mile. And in relation to that, Washington, D.C. is like 11,000 people per square mile. So we can see that not very densely populated, but definitely has. We know that there's population centers there with Frederick and the capital of the county. And then I thought it was interesting, home to Camp David, kind of like you said about the National Fire Academy, something you didn't know, but home to Camp David, we all know, a resort getaway for the president. It probably spends, again, several days a year up at Camp David, and I'm sure, does that overwhelm do you feel it when he comes into Camp David?
So it's not really hard to tell when he's in town. There's a little bit more flight activity, and it's pretty easy to tell when he's in town.
So again, like you mentioned, there's some very rural areas, right? And then you have the population center there of Frederick, which is a pretty populated town. Good. Let's talk about the fire department. Combination system, 25 volunteer corporations, and that's both fire and EMS, right?
Yeah, well, depending on the corporation, we have 3 EMS-only corporations. We have a few fire-only corporations, but those fire stations still respond with an EMS first responder. Overall, we're just about to crest over 600 career personnel now. We've had a little bit of activity as an outcome of the Ball Road incident in raising our staffing levels to meet national standards. So absolutely a combination fire service in the stations that we staff, career and volunteer in the same stations, riding the same units to the same calls together.
Now there's 30 facilities.
Yeah, 30 stations total, and we run about 40,000 calls for service a year.
And I see that 23 of them, 24-hour staffing. Is there varying? Is there a crew at those, like a 3-person minimum, or do some of them have a driver only? Or
so we've gotten away from any driver only situations, but yeah, of the 24 or 23 stations we staff 24 hours a day, the majority of them have 5 personnel assigned, 2 for the ambulance, 3 for a suppression company. We're still typically bouncing between engines, trucks, and squads in some of our fire stations. There are 2 that we strictly unit staff. But our personnel, typically those 23 stations are staffed with at least 5. Some go as many as 10 persons to staff the units that are in the stations.
So you talk about jump staffing, if you will, right? An engine or a ladder truck. Do you do unit dispatching, or do you dispatch the station and they decide what they take?
We do unit dispatching. And our standard box alarm today is 5 engines, 2 trucks, a rescue squad, and in an ambulance, 2 command officers, a safety officer. In the rural areas, we had a 6th engine company and 3 tankers. So we're absolutely unit dispatched, and depending on the productivity of the station, we will pull a station multiple times if they're able to perform to that level.
You talk about mutual aid, and I read in the report that you kind of touch a lot of different jurisdictions there, and then again 3 different states. So you get automatic aid from them, or is it you have to call up and say, hey, we need an engine?
Yeah. So today we use the mutual aid radio to make sure that mutual aid asset is available, and then have them dispatched. So we consider it automatic aid because it goes without permission. It just occurs. But we're looking forward here in the next several months of transitioning to a new CAD system, which will allow CAD to CAD dispatching. And we're really excited about the efficiencies in that.
So the dispatchers will call, or do you, as the chief, say, hey, call loud?
No, the dispatchers call based on the running cards. So it's
Gotcha.
automatic without hesitation.
Yeah, and that is a big thing. We're working towards that in my little county here. We have some places that they got to call and ask the local battalion chief if they're available, if they're not busy, and then allow them to come. So working through that, because you know how vital those seconds, right? Those seconds are important. All right, so 5 all volunteer facilities. There's no career in them.
That's correct.
All right, so here's the county here, and those are red dots are your fire or rescue station, right?
Yep, and the blue dots are EMS only. And that road that cross-sects the county east-west is Interstate 70. And if you look at the clump that is Frederick City in the center of the state and everything, or in the center of the county, and everything below Interstate 70 there is pretty suburban, right? It's the denser populated portion of the county. And once you get north of that Interstate 70 line, we become a much more rural, much more sparsely populated area. And you can see that through the distance of the fire stations. The west side of our county has the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Trail passes through our jurisdiction. So a lot of mountainous terrain on the west side of our jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool. Like I said, when you go to Emmitsburg, I do like to go to Cunningham Falls and take advantage of some of those things that are in the county. All right, so again, pretty active place now. Like you said, there's people in every firehouse except those five volunteers, but you do have staffing, 5 people staffing in every place. So it's definitely adding numbers. What do you say? You're over 600 now?
Yeah, so we're about to graduate 2 recruit classes, not this Friday night, but next Friday night. And that and a class that will graduate in November will get us over 600 field personnel. And
you say that's going to help you with some of the recommendations out of the report?
Yeah, there was a recommendation in the report to move to 4-person suppression staffing, consistent with NFPA 1710. So we were really fortunate last September to get awarded a SAFER grant. That SAFER grant funded 32 positions, and that's the first of a 3-phase plan to get all of our suppression companies up to 4-person staffing. So that graduation of those recruits that are hired as part of that SAFER award graduate next Friday. And then in the middle of September, when they get done their field training and count towards staffing, we will start to recognize that 4-person staffing in our first 7 companies. And we've got a SAFER grant in currently for phase 2 of that, and then are looking forward to the implementation. If that grant's successful, about a year from now, 7 additional companies of the 21 suppression companies we have moving to 4-person staffing.
Wow, that's big deal.
Yeah, a lot of hard work went into that, and we're really, really appreciative of our grant staff and incredibly appreciative of our training staff. Aaron's part of that. With having 3 overlapping recruit classes at our academy right now, our facilities really push the limit.
Yeah, good stuff. Growing department. All right. Anything else about the department you want to add to highlight? Or you want to get into the Ball Road incident?
I say let's get into the incident.
Yes, sir. All right, here's a little bit of overview of the building. And again, this is crazy when we look at last month's incident in Howard County and their big house that we went to. Again, a little bit different than this one. This one looks like it probably is newer, and maybe this one might make more sense than last month's, but quite a big place. What was this one? Was over 5,000 square feet?
5,375 square feet. And it's important to note 9510 Ball Road was in a non-hydranted area, and the driveway was just shy of 1,500 feet long.
So with that, was the basement was finished or unfinished?
Now, the basement was unfinished. And Maryland has now residential sprinkler laws, but when this house was built in 2003, those laws weren't in existence yet. So this house did not have the benefit of residential sprinklers.
So let's touch on that real quick. I'd like to know, so you have some big houses like this up there that have residential sprinklers?
Absolutely. Across the state, residential sprinklers are a requirement in Maryland. They have been for, almost 10 years now. Not quite 10 years, but almost 10 years. So in the rural setting, like 9510 Ball Road, there'd be a water storage tank in the basement, a jockey pump that would take care of the residential sprinklers for that residence. So we're really fortunate in Maryland to have that law, and it was just unfortunate this house was built before that law went in.
Typically, how big of a water tank would they have?
This house is larger than the standard house, but I think for a normal-sized single-family dwelling, it's about 300 gallons.
That's pretty neat. That's a great addition, right? Having your own fire department in your house for immediate response. So big house, pretty good access though. Pretty good access to it.
Yeah, I think some of the challenges as you flip through those pictures there to note. If you actually go back to the previous slides, it's really hard to pick up, but the report's very, very clear about the impact of a 360 size up. And in this house, although you were able to see 3 of the 4 sides driving up the long driveway, buried on that Charlie Delta corner behind some shrubbery is a set of basement steps. Short of those basement steps, there's really nothing else on the exterior of the structure that really denotes that there's a basement. No windows, no vents, no really anything. So the fence that you see there on the Delta side as well also impacted the 360 and actually was a factor in Josh's extrication. So just really important to make sure no matter what the obstacles are to get around all 4 sides.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was highlighted in the report was this. This is the Delta side here on the bottom right picture.
Correct.
Or no, that's the
you're right.
Charlie. Bravo side, right?
Yeah, no, it's the bottom picture on the right. You can see the shrubbery and the steps that go down there. So that is the Charlie Delta corner.
And you can see the smoke stained siding there. So there's indication that, but it was, like you say, it's pretty tough to see. But again, maybe what do you do? Tell them to have an arrow that points down on their house. You know, remember years ago there was a big push to have big T's or something if it was a truss building. Again, I mean, we know the how important a 360 is, and get all the information in that you can. Get some intelligence, right? Some building intelligence while you're doing that. So the 9510 Ball Road, this was much like it is, right? Because it was August 11th. So, we are on the 3rd today. So right about this time, and a typical for this mid-Atlantic area was a typical afternoon storm came rolling through the area, right? And again, I guess it was. I read it was on some surveillance video that they could see lightning strike that house at about 4:00 in the afternoon, right? 4:00 in the afternoon. And then 46 minutes later, the neighbor across the street calls and says the house is on fire across Ball Road, or next to her house, right? And so we know there's at least 46 minutes of burn time, or about that, right? 40 minutes of burn time in that house. Obviously, that means it was empty, right? The occupants were not there. So it's burning unchecked in that basement. Like you mentioned, you do a box alarm dispatch of 5 engines, 2 trucks, 3 tankers, a rescue squad, an AMBO, safety officer. In the report only had 1 BFC, but you did mention 2 battalion fire chiefs.
The assignments that I quoted were actually our updated assignments after the Ball Road response. So what you have listed there is accurate to August of 2021.
And with that, 30 people, which is a robust assignment. Again, right, you got some of them were committed to driving, but and 3 tankers, which, they're not necessarily going to be involved in the firefight, but they'll be involved in water supply and so on. So 30 people, pretty good, effective firefighting force there of 30 people. So with that, right, the call comes in, you guys respond. Nate or Josh's fire truck was coming back from a previous incident, right? So normally second arriving here, second due here, they were going to be the first arriving company.
Yeah, so it was really interesting. The Urbana is the actual first due company to this address on Ball Road. Josh's engine company was running a call, storm-related, in Urbana, and had cleared that call and was heading back to quarters when they saw this incident drop into CAD. So from the time it took me when the box alarm was dispatched to walk out of the office and down to the car, Josh was already giving his on-scene report as he was going up the driveway. So not only was he normally second due and arrived first, but he arrived incredibly fast based on his proximity to the incident. And, that kind of really meant that his backup was a little bit further away.
So arriving on the scene, I guess they made a water supply call to split this lay up the driveway, right?
Yep.
Is it do you have is it marked in your books or something about how long that driveway is, or was it just something you figured that it looked like it was about that long?
Yeah. So some of our map books are marked with driveway lengths. Some of our folks use apps to determine driveway lengths. In this case, I think Josh was so close in proximity to the scene, they picked it was a common use driveway that split off. So they picked a common point that allowed space for that split to occur.
So you say it was 1,500 feet long, the driveway?
1,435 was the exact measurement, but yeah, just shy of 1,500 feet.
So they picked the point, they stopped, deployed their supply line, and continued up. I do know in reading that I guess when they got there that the smoke conditions were kind of bad, even out front, that they were forced to don their mask earlier than they probably would have because of the smoke conditions.
Yeah, so they got out of the engine, gave their on-scene report, requested some additional assets, and their initial view was of that Bravo Charlie corner, and had fire emanating from a sunroom or some sort of recreational room that kind of bounced off that Bravo Charlie corner. So
is this that Bravo Charlie corner?
It is. So those windows there by the chimney, they had fire emanating out of them when they arrived, and the smoke was hanging really low on the top of the hill that this house sat on. So as they got out and pulled their initial attack line, they connected to air, deployed their line, and started an initial attack from the exterior to try to get this fire contained before it walked across the Charlie side of the house.
So there was pretty good fire conditions when they got there on that corner? There
was. Yeah. Both of the windows had failed and fire and smoke were emanating out of them.
And so then again, size ups, and I guess other units got there relatively soon, or?
Well, the engine and ladder truck from Urbana were the next two units there. An assistant chief that lived in the area had arrived. Another chief had arrived and established command. The assistant chief that arrived bolstered the crew from Company 25 and deployed a second attack line to the rear. So as all of that was starting to play out, units were showing up to build out the water supply. And the intent initially was that they were going to try to get this thing under control from the exterior and go in and mop up. At some point in time, Josh had popped his head and gotten inside of that room just to kind of see if they'd gotten ahead of the fire. It was communicated to him that, hey, we're not quite going in yet, so come on out. And that officer turned around, and next thing you know, Josh had fallen through the floor. So Mayday was sounded. Josh called his own Mayday and was crystal clear and calm in doing that. But that floor collapse sent him into the basement.
When they got there again, so units are getting there. You say that reading the report, the Ops AC 900 is that chief who lived around the corner?
Yep, that was one of the chiefs that lives down in that area. He had deployed a second hand line off of 251 to assist in knocking the fire down, as command had already been established, and was really trying to work with the crews that didn't have a whole lot of hands there initially to get that fire suppressed.
Gotcha. So I did see that. And then 23, is that Urbana?
Yeah, so Urbana's engine and truck arrived. They had actually pulled a line to the front door. So the game plan that was communicated over the radio is once the fire gets under control, we're going to send 23 in from the front door and push that fire, just straight out the back and knock it down. So before 23's engine and truck made it through the front door, that Mayday came in from the rear of the house.
Do you know? Do we know what door he went in to get inside?
We're not really able to determine what door, or if he stepped off that patio porch through one of the large windows, but he was definitely inside the house.
Yeah. So 23, the officer from the ladder 23, truck 23, he was helping with that 360.
He did make a 360 report. At one point in the incident, yes, as his company was working on forcing the front door and the engine company was getting a line to the front door.
All right, good. So, okay, so now Josh is inside, and like you say, within seconds, he drops into the basement, gave a pretty clear Mayday call. Did units were deployed then to go rescue him, right?
Yeah, so once the Mayday was received, the company 23 units were right in the area of the front door. They went into the first floor. The crews that were on the outside on the Charlie side worked as they could see the hole through the floor, through the window, to put water into the hole. So their first focus was to try to suppress the fire and keep Josh protected with that hose line.
And those guys, they were outside the window. They could see the hole.
Well, they know where the collapse occurred. So they could tell where the hole was at and were actively putting water into it.
So the fire conditions in the basement were pretty bad.
Well, there was an active fire in the basement, and then obviously when the hole was created, that increased the fire load. So the way the fire ended up starting, lightning had struck the chimney and traveled down through the corrugated stainless steel tubing that went in there beside the chimney to a fireplace. And when the lightning energized that CSST, several arcs were formed in the basement, which caused holes in the tubing, and the subsequent fires, the gas escaped. So the floor in that room there had actually been burned under for close to an hour before it collapsed. And it was a tile floor, very similar to Nate's fire in Howard County. So once the weight got on it, it was a catastrophic immediate failure.
So they suspect several voids in that CSST?
Yeah, there were at least 3 that were found in the CSST.
So again, the fire load, really the only thing that it was burning was the floor.
Yeah, so the floor and then any drop down of storage contents underneath it. Now, I think obviously by the time that the initial engine company arrived, that fire had come up through the floor in certain spots, whether it was through vents or the wall or what have you, because obviously there was fire emanating through that first floor room when they first started the fire attack.
So again, so you listeners out there, please go look at the ATF just put on a presentation today in up there in Maryland for Howard and for the Frederick County line of duty deaths pertaining to that. And ATF did a simulation of the Nate's fire and then added some information from Josh's fire. And in that, there is a video round, kind of an overview of the incident scene, and then there's radio traffic of Josh's Mayday call and subsequent efforts to try and get to him and his conversations with command. At one point, he does even say, "Put a ladder in the hole. Just put a ladder in the hole, and I'll walk out of here." But he also talks about how the heat was so bad that he had to move a couple of times to go find a spot away from the heat there. And it does seem so. The RIT team, we'll get into that now. Where did you guys make access to go find Josh?
We made access through the basement door located on the Delta side of the building. That's where we accessed the basement.
And so that was that door that we looked at on the side, right?
So it's probably important to note that before Rescue Squad 3 and Engine 3-1 that Aaron was a part of actually made it to the scene, there was a lot of activity going on inside the house, working to find the interior stairs, trying to get a ladder down the hole, but the floor continued to fail. And then the smoke conditions and heat really became untenable around the hole, so that rescue effort had to be abandoned. So as Squad 3 and Engine 3-1 are still approaching the scene, they're scrambling to find the interior door to the house, and that's about the time that Aaron gets there.
So you say the initial efforts were through the front door?
So the initial entries were through the front door, and crews were both simultaneously working to find interior stairs to the basement and working to get a ladder in the hole and suppress the fire to get down to Josh from above, because they actually had verbal contact with him from the hole.
Really?
Yeah, so conditions continued to deteriorate, both from a floor stability standpoint and from a tenability standpoint. And that was when crews went out and found those Delta side stairs.
Aaron, you were on Rescue Squad 3?
Yeah, I was a technician on Rescue Squad 3.
So, Chief, when they made contact with him from above over the hole, was 23? Or was that Aaron, your crew?
That was the crews from 23 and a crew from 15, actually. So we had multiple crews working on the inside of the building at that point in the incident. It was an engine from the Newmarket station, Station 15, and the engine and truck from Urbana that were still inside.
So those guys on the upstairs on the first floor, looking down into the hole, could they see him, or they just had verbal contact?
Verbal contact.
So fire conditions were coming out of that hole were pretty bad.
So I knew they had a lot of smoke, a lot of heat. I can't really comment on the volume of fire they had there, but it was a lot of smoke and a lot of heat.
All right. So Aaron, you and your crew, you guys found that exterior access to the basement.
Yeah, located on the Delta side there. And my officer went down the steps. He was a couple feet ahead of me. He went down linked up with another captain, and those two started forcing the door to.
All right, so entry was made. Pretty tough conditions in the basement.
We went down about 6-8 steps. As soon as we went in, it was obviously completely black. You know, there was brown smoke pumping out of the basement when they popped the door. I went in roughly 10-ish feet. And that's when I dropped down, couldn't see anything. And at that point, the guy who was riding third on the rescue squad with me that day met up with me right there. And then it was him and I throughout the duration.
So this entrance was close to the kitchen area or opposite side of the building? Yeah, so opposite the bulk of the fire, right, was on that Charlie Bravo corner, and you guys made access on the Delta side. So
yeah,
what was but it was unfinished, right? But it was a lot of storage in there.
Yeah. So when we first went in, I went in roughly, like I said, 10-ish feet, and then stopped and made sure he was still with me. I really couldn't hear a pass alarm or anything at that time. But in my head, from doing a 360 running up there, I knew the area where he said that he fell through. So in my mind, entering from the Delta side, I had to go to the Bravo side and fade back towards the Charlie side to where we thought that he had fallen in. As we were going through, I kept running into, thought it was a bunch of like end tables and stuff, but it was a bunch of speakers. They had like a band set up in the basement. We continued through that, and that roughly then is when I picked up the pass alarm. So I would move several feet and then stop and listen. I could hear the pass alarm. We did that several times, making our way across the basement.
All right. So how many of you were there when that got to Josh?
Well, there was 2 of us initially that went in. The other 2 who forced the door, the captains, they were 5-10 seconds behind us. I believe at one point, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was roughly 10 to 12 people total searching in the basement between different units.
All right, so you got your 4 crew there got to Josh. What was the conditions then?
Well, we were crawling along the basement, and as the pass alarm was getting louder, I reached out and we hit a wall. And it sounded like he was directly on the other side of that wall. So we started searching real quick, and all of a sudden my right hand went in 3-5 inches, whatever, and that's when I knew I was at a doorway. My partner was still right beside me. We opened up the door, and initially conditions, that's the first time in the basement, other than the first several feet in, that I could see. When I opened that door, I could see roughly 18 to 24 inches off the ground. Like I just seen boxes. Other than that, that lasted for 2 to 3 seconds, right? So once I kicked that door open, that changed everything. and then it went back to pitch black. I did see like a little red blinking light, which should be on the back of his SCBA, and obviously the pass alarm was going off, so we knew he was there. We went through the door roughly 6-8 feet, I believe, from what I remember, and that's where we located.
All right, let's pause for a second. Mark's got the video. He found the video. If you can pull that up, and I'm going to close the slides, or you can take the slides down and then replace it with this video. Again, so this is from the ATF's presentation today. We'll go for a few minutes and listen to some audio messages from this and get an idea what's going on. Go ahead.
Engine 251, Frederick.
Engine 251.
On the scene, large, 2.5 story single family. We do have a working fire gun, start to rig, and probably a tanker task force.
Engine 251 on scene advising 2-story single family working fire requesting rid and tanker task force 1652.
Mayday. Captain Laird, engine 251. I have stolen through the floor in the fire room. Chief, you copy the Mayday?
Main copies of Mayday. Engine 231. Engine 231's officer. Did you copy?
Yeah, can you confirm if he fell through the basement or if he's just stuck in the first floor? Hey, he fell from the block of the fire room here on the Charlie side into the basement. He was just in the window, fell through. I'm in the basement. I had to back away from where I was. It was burning up.
251's officer. Can you hear me?
I can only hear you right here. I had to remove myself from the fire room and burning up.
Hey. All right, we got a line.
Probably the best thing you can do is drop a ladder, run into this hole, put the fire out, and walk out.
G15-1 command. We got a line in the building now. And they're going to try and get to the basement and get them out.
I'm going to take the Charlie division. Right now, we got the crews assembling. We still have verbal contact. We aren't able to make access via the fire floor to get down there. I've just sent Rescue Squad 3 and the captain from 231 to another basement entrance to see if they can transverse from the other side of the house to make access. Okay. Yeah, I'll say T900 to Captain Laird. Engine 251 Alpha, come in. Where are you? What quadrant? I was in quadrant. I had to retreat from the fire, but now it's starting to burn up. Tell my family alone. 231 Alpha. I'm with Captain Alpha Rescue Squad 3 and the Firefighter. He's traveling. Currently unconscious. We're heading your way. We need EMS. Speaker, jump inside.
Command to Frederick.
Okay, Mark, stop it. All right, so viewers, please take the time to research this. The ATF, like I said, put out this video today and released the report previously. Now they've done this reconstruction, this fire simulation of firefighter Flynn's, and at the end of that, they've added, because of this information that came from this fire since then and how similar they were, the same lightning strike, CSST failure, a fire in a basement, and a big house. All these things are so similar. They put those together. So make sure you look at that, get on YouTube. That's where that was from, and you can check that out. So once you got to Josh, we're at Josh now. You're packaging him up for removal. Did you just grab onto his SCBA straps? What was the condition such that you had to crawl, or were you able to get up to your knees, or was it a difficult rescue?
Okay, so like I had stated, when we went through the door, we went in another 6 to 8 feet. He was kind of laying in a bunch of boxes, like head down towards the concrete floor. So I was the first to get to him. He still had his pack on, so I just kind of picked him up and rolled him into my lap, if you will, so we could start assessing what we needed to do. The other fireman that was with me, kind of went around to the right, kind of jumped up over us. But the room was packed full of, felt like plastic bins, cardboard boxes, just a bunch of decorations or something. So we didn't have the best of working conditions in the room where we located them. I remember trying several things as far as one, seeing if he had a helmet and a mask on. I did not feel either one of those. I tried reaching down to put his pressure gauge up to my mask because of, we couldn't see anything to see if he still had air, if we could, buddy breathe, UAC, whatever we needed to do. But everything was just completely dark. So we decided we were going to try to convert his waist strap over and then pull him back out into that main room, maybe reassess or just keep going. So the other fireman went for the waist strap conversion. That was unsuccessful. I believe a lot of that was due to the boxes and debris. Every time we moved him, more boxes were falling around and on us. And we weren't able to get that. I reached several times for his DRD. I couldn't, at first, I didn't know exactly what I was pulling up on. I felt like I had it several times. And then when I went to really pull that strap up to set it underneath his armpits, it would just spring back. So I believe that may have been a Nomex. So that kind of hindered me from getting to the DRD. Obviously, listening to the radio, I heard some outside communication about conditions worsening. Conditions were worsening in the basement for us. And that's when I decided we just need to get out of this room and start exiting the building. When that happened, obviously we undid his waist strap prior to that. So when I went to pull on the shoulder straps, I started pulling his SCBA off of him a little bit, like the backpack. So at that point, I was able to find a shoulder, reach over his right shoulder, and just kind of grab the strap and punch forward, if you will, to cinch that shoulder strap down on his right shoulder. And then that's what I used to get out to the door, where the captains who had forced the door, they were just off to the side of the doorway for our communication, so we knew how to get out of that room. So that was crucial for them to stay out there, so we knew how to get out.
How far do you think it was to carry? Was it 50 feet? Because that's a pretty deep basement, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty deep. I'll be honest, I forget the number offhand. It felt like a mile, to be honest with you, coming out. One thing that helped us tremendously in my mind is the crews behind us. They had an 1 3/4 line down there with us. So they did not flow any water out of that hose when we were down there. But that was a huge asset for us, acting as our tagline, getting out of the basement.
Yeah, that's those are some tough things there, right? And as much as we practice and you depend on it, right? Is it going to happen when the time comes, and the difficulty in doing that? So hopefully, you guys, when you're doing this in training, right, you're gonna add some realism to it, some make it difficult for your guys to do it and practice it and get that done. You can see it's tough, right? Because the value of having that waist strap buckled, right? You wouldn't pull the SCBA off of it, but the difficulty, how it's even difficult when you're not in when you're in the apparatus bay floor, right? When you're on the apparatus bay floor and you're all blacked out, it's difficult to do it. And now you're in a basement that's on fire and it's your buddy and you're stressed out, and I can't imagine how difficult that would be.
And I can tell you that the conditions at that point in the fire were significantly worsening, and very little visibility. The smoke conditions were getting much worse on the outside of the building. A lot more smoke, a lot more pressure, and those guys were operating in a really, really bad environment. So those guys worked really hard to get Josh out, and they were in the thick of it.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, right? I mean, again, everybody with opening up those doors and adding some air and stuff, it's gonna it can impact that fire. And in addition to trying to figure out where the fire is, because that looks like a pretty big building, and who knows what was burning. All right, so this is the building, and this is the over here, right on this side. Is that where the basement entrance was, on the Delta side?
Yeah, we can't see where you're pointing, but yeah, the basement entrance.
I see that now.
The basement entrance was on that the Delta side, right in the center. You can see where that fence goes into the house.
All right, and this is what contributed to the fire, right? And again, thank you to the ATF and Mark St. John for Adam St. John for doing this, because he's really invested a lot, done some really good stuff for Maryland Fire Service and the American Fire Service with Mark Falkenhand's incident, and now with Nate's and adding it to Josh's stuff. So this CSST tubing is a problem, and I know we have a couple of champions out there fighting the fight for us, right? In Celeste and Sarah, and they're doing a great job. They did a good job in Maryland, and now hopefully we'll take them and they'll go nationwide, so we can shine a light on the hazard that this presents to not only us, but to obviously the citizens who live in that thing. So what we're seeing here is these small holes, right? And we know these things are all over the houses. They come in and they run this stuff all over the places. But this picture in the bottom here is kind of what happens, right? And this is a perfect example of what happened in your fire and what happened in Nate's fire, right? It opens up, and the one thing that it's going to burn is all that combustible material right around it. And as you mentioned, then you'll get some drop down, and it'll start some of the other material that's on the floor and contribute to the fire load. So again, guys, watching this, please go check this stuff out, identify where it is. There's not a whole lot we can do with what's already out there, but we can make some improvements on what's coming on the tubing that may come out, right? And work with that. That's what the wives of our two highlights that we're doing here for last month and this month are doing for us. Celeste and Sarah have gotten together and are fighting the fight for us. Now we can go help them, right? We can help them and talk to our people, but this is a problem, and we've identified it. And how many more fires is this going to contribute to? There may be another one that happened in Maryland while more investigation is being done. On the other side of the state, it was a basement fire after a storm as well. But the information kind of adding up to maybe it was the same kind of lightning strike incident. Another thing I want to highlight here comes out of the report, the human performance under stress part. And we just heard from Aaron about some of the stresses they were under and the human performance, right? Again, it works out perfectly on the bay floor when we practice and do it. And then when we add the stresses and stuff that are coming on to us, so many times we look at these things with a crystal, with good glasses on from hindsight, right? And we think, oh, well, it's just human error, or why didn't they do this, right? Well, let's look at it through their lens when they were there. And this report, the guys who did this report reached out to the leadership under fire people and Jason Bresler and his crew from New York City and all the work that they're doing with human performance. And this quote really hit me from your report. It says, "It is thus imperative that the fire service pursue an understanding of human performance and under pressure with conviction and fervor equal to that of building construction and fire behavior." We know, because we've highlighted it here a lot on Mayday Monday, the advances, the stuff we've learned on the modern fire behavior and all the studies, right? And even in what NIST has done and what UL is doing and all the great stuff that's coming out and giving to us. And they put a lot of money in that. We do a lot with building construction, but have we invested the same resources in the study of human performance under stress? We need to, right? Because that's what's happening. And while, again, we think, oh, this guy's this guy's he's a top dog. He's a varsity player, but add some stress to it, and things can be a whole lot different. And just the funny thing is the same fire, right? If someone hadn't have died, we wouldn't have looked into the fire, and some of the same things might have happened. Wouldn't have impacted to a death. But because someone died, now we're looking into it and we're looking at these things. So there's mistakes are made on every fire that don't end up in a line of duty death, that we think is successful. But the same mistakes could be made. Just so happened that someone died at this fire. So have you guys been working with this leadership under fire crew to look at these things?
So I've had the benefit of knowing Jason for many years, actually long before he got into FDNY. But Jason was a huge asset to our external safety review panel. We've worked with Jason and sent some folks to some of the LUF seminars all over the East Coast. We really appreciate their message and what they're trying to drive forward in leadership of the fire service. But our external safety review panel reached out to Jason and asked him to really take a look at this incident as it applies to operations under stress. And I really think he did an outstanding job of putting that section of the report together and really giving the fire service a look of, we've really got to look at how humans react in stressful situations. There really isn't a more stressful situation in the fire service than trying to save one of your own. So I'm really appreciative of our external safety review panel for the report they put together and to Jason and his team for that section of the report, because I really think it brought that to light in a way not many other reports have in the fire service.
Yeah, I agree. It really is a good addition there, and hopefully, as more people read these things, they'll dig into it and get a little bit deeper understanding of the human performance aspect. So let's go back to you said it lasted. You thought it took forever to get him out. Once you got him out, I'm sure EMS care was there pretty quick. Did you? I saw a helicopter. Did you fly him to a trauma center?
Yeah. So at Ball Road, the Mayday was sounded at 5 o'clock, 1700 hours. The crews from Engine 3-1 and Rescue Squad 3 found Josh at 1712. So from the point of the Mayday till the point that they found him was 12 minutes, and he was removed from the structure at 1716. So
oh wow,
it was. Wow. A 4-minute removal was amazing when you look at the conditions they were faced with and the fact that they had to basically traverse the entire length of that basement in really austere conditions. So helicopters.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I'm listening to Aaron, I'm thinking, no, it's going to be like 15 minutes.
No, 12 minutes from the time he fell through the floor till we found him and 4 minutes to get him out. And it was really puzzling initially. That he was unconscious when we got to him. But it all plays back to that initial conversation we had that the smoke conditions were so bad that they went on air as soon as they got out of the engine. Yeah, they were working really hard. So once we found Josh, knew that he was unconscious, we requested the resources of the Maryland State Police Aviation Command, landed them at the scene. Our paramedics immediately engaged in advanced life support care and began immediate life-saving treatment. But he was transported to MedStar in Washington, D.C., where he died of the injuries he sustained at this event.
Horrible thing, and a big impact on Frederick County and all of the Maryland and the fire service listening to this thing. And I think I was at work, and we have some guys who volunteer up there, right, and know a lot of your people up there, and they're telling us, oh, this is what's going on, and we would obviously I wasn't living it like you guys were, but I remember the stress from the people that we had there, and it's a shame that you lost such a shooting star. Great guy, but we're not going to let him die in vain. What I would like to say is normally with the guests that come on, I ask you to kind of give me 2 or 3 things that you want people to take away from this incident? I know a lot of you guys haven't, we've been speaking to the chief and speaking to Aaron here. Steve and Vinny, you guys have been kind of quiet. So maybe you have something that you want people to take away from this incident. Anybody want to go first?
Yeah, I think I'll go first. As you've already mentioned, I think it's really important to sit down with your shift and watch this video that they had posted on YouTube. I know Sarah's really big about it and wants everybody to watch it, because watching this video and seeing some of the ways the fire path is and the fire flow and the way this CSST behaves, it could, potentially save one of us if we're in the same situation. So, it's like you said, it's in August. We're in the heat and the summer of lightning and everything. So it's just really important now, since it's fresh and came out. If you sat down and everybody could watch it, I think that would be great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Just take every chance that you can to constantly train on something and, new advancements. And the fire service isn't what it was 15, 20 years ago with the design of houses and the size of houses nowadays. It's really a changing environment for us as firefighters and the tactics we have. So.
Yeah, good stuff, right? Don't let your guard down. Don't become complacent. There's a lot of different things out there, so make sure you're staying up on it. Aaron, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. One of the things I definitely like everybody to take away is don't be upset if you're assigned a RIT, right? Everybody wants to go inside and fight fire. I get that. But, be proud in it. Be proactive when you get on scene. It just, if we knew where that basement entrance was, a little bit sooner, it's hard to say what the outcome may have been. But, be proactive, train in it. There's so much stuff you can do in the firehouse to set up RIT drills with the furniture and stuff that's available in a firehouse. So just train on RIT. I just want everybody to start working on it and continue to get better at it.
Yeah, I think one of the things we're highlighting in this month's skill drill here is don't forget about the drag rescue device. Now, they're difficult to get, right? Especially with gloves on and you got the SCBA on. So it's imperative that we practice with that. Again, we all know that the waist belt, if you can change that, if you can convert that to the harness, is a home run and can help. But again, those that can be difficult to do. Last year, I think it was last year, we had former commissioner of Buffalo, Mike Lombardo, on, and I think it was actually it might have been the same time that your incident happened. And I had him on to talk about basement fire they had in Buffalo several years ago. And one of the things that he highlighted was make it routine. Make it routine that after the driver gets the pump set, gets the lines stretched out, that he goes and grabs a folding ladder and sets it near the front door, right? Make that a routine thing. Again, after, the line is stretched and that kind of thing, but you never know. Even if you don't use it to rescue a downed firefighter, you might use it to go into the attic where we go find concealed fire. So if it doesn't take away from the operations, place a folding ladder there next to the door. Another thing he said, and again, if a firefighter is in trouble, if you become in trouble, convert your own harness, right? If you have the wherewithal to do that, we all, again, think about the advantage of that. I would say that it didn't necessarily, while you talked about the difficulty and wish you had been able to make that connection, a 4-minute extrication, I don't know if it would have helped to get that much faster, but definitely something we want to practice with. And thank you for that information. Chief, you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, I can't limit it to one or two. The one thing I can say is we've done everything as an organization to learn everything we can about Ball Road. Josh's loss was devastating to our organization. It left a huge void for us and an even bigger void for his family. there's no reason another organization has to live through what we lived through. So make sure you look at our external safety review panel report. Learn as much as you can from this fire. We've talked about Adam St. John's product through the ATF that just got publicly released today. There's a tremendous amount of information on fire dynamics, CSST dangers, and flow path that a lot of very seasoned fire service professionals, it was new information for them. So just try to take everything we can from this incident. Make sure you read up on it and share it with your departments. We didn't talk about it today, but there was a lot of radio traffic in those 16 minutes from the time of the Mayday till Josh was outside. And we found through radio records that there were a lot of transmissions from Josh that didn't make it out because the talk group was busy. NIOSH has found that to be the case, that in a lot of recent line of duty deaths, firefighters are forgetting about their emergency button. And you hit it last month or your last session when you reviewed Nate's fire and the importance of knowing your radio, but knowing your emergency button and when to push it and what that does for you as a firefighter who may be in a dangerous situation is imperative. Don't worry about upsetting people by pushing your emergency button. If it's the right time, push it. So there's a lot of information out there about this fire. We are an open resource to any fire department that wants to learn from our experiences. Just reach out, and we're glad to talk about an incident that was completely devastating to our organization.
I always worry about cold calling people, right, or reaching out to people, and fortunately, I have a connection with Dan Shaw there in Fairfax, and know that the work that he put into the external report that they did. Speaking to him at a UL meeting, we were going over some of the ins and outs of that fire and his investigation, and then being able to reach out to make this such a small fire service, right? I reached out to him. I'm thinking he's going to find somebody, but he got me the fire chief. And then the fire chief said, call him. I'm like, I call him. So thank you, Chief, for being so open, so willing, so down to earth, approachable about this incident. I know it had an impact on you guys. I appreciate you. I came up last year, right, and we did the basement fire stuff, and that says a lot too about that and going over it. It was good, and I'm proud, honored to be kind of a part of that reconstruction for you guys. Thank you for coming out. Again, the fire chief, when I talked to him, he mentioned one of the things was about the drags and packaging the down firefighter and the difficulty that the guys that came out talked about. So the best way to make it less difficult is to practice on it. So get out there and practice on it. So this month, I want you to work on the D of ABCs and Ds of rescue. Work on different techniques for dragging a down firefighter. One of the ones that I highlight is the push-pull. I see so many people when we do Mayday training, they want to go right towards the push-pull. Well, if you have enough space and you can get a firefighter on either side, it may be easier just to grab either side of the down firefighter and pull them. Another idea, maybe put a tool. Some people you see people putting tools between the shoulder straps. Practice that, right, and get good at it. And then add some friction. Get off the bay floor. Make it a little bit more difficult. And then make it in a small area. Add some stress, right? Add some loud music or pass alarms or people pushing and tugging on you. Add some stress to it too. But get out there and practice. Practice is going to make it perfect, and that's the best we can do. So this month on your Mayday Monday, please get out and practice your drags. Mark, you can take the slide down now. All right, again, anybody, one last chance. I give you one last chance to say something if you want to wrap up. Thank you guys for coming out, giving me your Thursday night. This will conclude our latest edition, the August 2023 Mayday Monday, where we focus on Josh Laird. his life and his untimely death. Thank you to the Frederick County, Maryland Fire Department for opening up your hearts, your being willing to talk about this stuff, and helping us to make sure he doesn't die in vain. So with that, thank you. Actually, maybe I had one more thing. I want to tell you, everybody that reached out to me and had some thoughts and prayers over the last month after my fire department suffered that horrible fire truck accident. A couple of our members were injured, and they're on the mend. Again, thank you for messages and reaching out. It was felt. So thank you, and I'll see you next month for another Mayday Monday.